Hello everyone and welcome to Lishe by Chiri. My name is Chiri. Welcome to my fourth video. Today I want to talk about vegetarianism, but mostly about veganism as it is the extreme form. I'd like to share with you about types of vegetarians, reasons why people are vegetarian or vegan, and the benefits and risks of veganism, as well as some nutritional tips for those who are in this lifestyle. So the types of vegans include semi-vegans, and these are the people that just usually only exclude red meat. So they consume white meat, fish, chicken, eggs, dairy, and other food products. Then we have lacto vegetarians. They only allow for dairy products, so milk and milk products, but no eggs, no fish, and no meat. And then we have lacto-ovo vegetarians. These people only eat dairy products, and or rather, they only consume dairy products and eggs, but they don't eat any fish or meat. And then we have pesco vegetarians or lacto-ovo pesco vegetarians who only allow for dairy products, fish and eggs, but they do not eat other meat products. And then lastly, we have vegans who only eat foods from plant sources. So they do not eat any meat or any animal products. So no meat, no fish, no dairy products, no eggs, and the likes. So some of the reasons why people become vegetarians or vegans, number one is because of religious or moral purposes. There are some religious groups in this world that do not encourage, or rather that encourage their members not to eat meats or any meat products. And then we also have, for with regards to like the moral purposes, maybe you feel like, okay, we are being, cruel to our animals if we eat them. And then number two is for health reasons. Depending on different disease conditions you might have, you might be told not to eat meat products or dairy. And then lastly, we have environmental concerns, where we're concerned about safety of our animals, their numbers basically, and things like those. So I'm going to talk about benefits and risks, but for these I'm only going to talk about vegans, or rather veganism, because it is the extreme form of vegetarianism. As I mentioned when I started, vegans don't eat meat products. They don't consume milk or dairy products. They don't eat eggs. So they basically are sustained by a plant-based diet. And that's why when I talk about benefits and risks, I want to talk about them specifically, because some of these points might not necessarily apply to those who maybe are pesco vegetarians, or those who are lacto vegetarians or lacto-ovo vegetarians, because these people, some of them consume fish, some consume eggs, some consume milk and dairy products. So the first benefit of veganism I want to talk about is the fact that, or rather, a vegan diet might be richer in some nutrients like fiber, potassium, magnesium, folate, B vitamins, vitamin A as well, and another group of nutrients we call phytonutrients. Because of their reliance on a plant-based diet, or rather plant-based foods, like cereals, like starches, like fruits, like vegetables, and nuts and seeds. Because if you're not eating meat, if you're not eating dairy, you'll focus on these other food groups. And the more you eat them, the more you're able to get of certain nutrients. Yeah. Number two, the other benefit of veganism is that vegans usually tend to be leaner, and they tend to have a lower BMI, or rather what is known as like a body mass index, than non-vegans. And this is partially because of the reduction in calorie intake. So when you're consuming plant-based foods, these are these end up being low calorie foods. So for example, the vegetables, the fruits, and even with the starch products, they usually are, or rather contain less calories. So you're eating more, you might end up eating more, but you're not getting a lot of calories as opposed to someone who, eats meat, eats fish, and other animal products. The third benefit is prevention of type 2 diabetes. Number one, because of weight control. If you're able to keep your weight in a good range, you're able to prevent occurrence of type 2 diabetes. This is also because of reduced calorie intake, as I mentioned, which leads to weight control basically, and also consumption of fiber, as I mentioned earlier, because vegans are able to get more of some nutrients that maybe non-vegans won't get unless they make some changes in their diet, and also because of the reduction of consumption of saturated fats, which are mostly found in animal products. And then the other benefit of veganism is also prevention of cardiovascular diseases, because of the same reasons that I mentioned when I talked about prevention of type 2 diabetes. So there's weight control, and then there's also low density lipoprotein, cholesterol. Those are, interesting terms. Maybe you can go and research on it. And then there's also lower blood pressure because of high consumption of fiber. There's also a high consumption of antioxidants and other phytonutrients, which are known to promote cardiovascular health. Then lastly, we have a lower risk of cancer because again of the consumption of antioxidants, which are found in plant-based foods. Also consumption of fiber and other phytonutrients which are present in plants and which have been shown to prevent certain types of cancers of the body. Yeah, so I want to talk about now the risks of veganism. So the first risk is a heme iron deficiency. Heme iron is found in animal products primarily. The kind of iron found in plant products is non-heme iron. So heme iron deficiency basically can lead to anemia, as we all know, because when you don't consume animal products, you can become deficient. But this can also be mitigated among vegans if they consume sources of iron. So, for example, sources of iron include plant sources of iron include legumes like beans and things like those. And then we also have green leafy vegetables, so spinach, kale, broccoli, things like those. But this issue can be mitigated among vegans by combining plant-based sources of iron with a source of vitamin C, because vitamin C increases the absorbability of non-heme iron in our body. So, for example, you can cook your plant foods, with tomatoes. Tomatoes have vitamin C, or you can try and maybe, I don't know, this might sound funny, but you can, I don't know, this is something I like to do. It's a tip. You can take it or you can leave it, but you can like sprinkle lemon juice, on certain foods. It can give it a nice savory taste, but as well, it can help to absorb non-heme iron in your body. The second risk is deficiency in omega-3 fatty acids, because these are usually found in fish. They're usually found in fish, yeah. And I mean, if you're a vegan, honestly, unless you consume seaweeds, which are really hard to find, you'll really not get enough of omega-3 fatty acids. And we know omega-3 fatty acids are good for cardiovascular health as well as eye and brain function. So in this area, vegans might require like an omega-3 supplement. But fortunately for them, they're a bit easy to get. So the third risk is vitamin D deficiency, which might lead to reduced bone mineral density, which can make one susceptible to fractures. And this is unless one consumes like fortified products. Vegans require are required rather to consume fortified products like, for example, non-dairy milks which have been fortified with vitamin C. For example, if you're taking almond milk or soy milk or whatever, just it's good to see if it has been fortified with vitamin C. Otherwise, you might need to take with vitamin D. Otherwise, you might need to take a vitamin D supplement. The other risk is vitamin B12 deficiency, because vitamin B12 isn't found in plant products unless perhaps in nutritional yeast or in fortified foods. It's usually mostly found in animal products like meats. Vitamin B12 deficiency can lead to macrocytic anemia, which basically means that the red blood cells produced are large and they carry less hemoglobin, which means that you won't get enough oxygen in your cells. So unless a vegan maybe uses nutritional yeast or takes fortified products, they might not be able to get enough vitamin B12 in their diet. And then the last risk I wanted to mention is that when you're eating a lot of plant-based products, you might also consume within them antinutrients like phytates. So antinutrients, like as the name suggests, is like substances that are anti-nutrients, that might inhibit absorption of certain nutrients in your body. So, for example, the absorption of iron in your plant-based diet, or even zinc. Yeah. So, I wanted to just give you an idea of the risks and benefits, so that if you decide to, switch to this lifestyle, you are well educated and you're able to make a well informed decision. So, some of the tips I would give you as a would be vegan or vegetarian, or even as someone who's already a vegan, so as to try and maintain a healthy diet, is number one, consume a large variety of foods. Don't just stick to maybe one type of food. Consume a large variety so that you can get a large variety of nutrients as well. Then the second tip is to check food labels. Like when you're going to buy certain products like your non-dairy milk or even different foods, it's good to check the label to see which nutrients they have been fortified with. So that you can see, okay, this one is fortified with vitamin B12. This one is fortified with, vitamin D. This one is fortified with this or that or the other. So that perhaps you might not need to go the supplement way. But again, yeah, it's basically good. And even for non-vegans, it's good to see, or rather check out the contents of the food that we buy and consume. Another tip is, I know, how do I put it? Basically, don't consume a lot of meat substitutes. And by meat substitutes, I mean like maybe processed, soya meat, tofu, or whatever. Don't consume a lot of that. I mean, I don't mean like don't consume it at all, but don't overdo it, because these products are processed. And this tip can even go to like non-vegans when they're thinking about different foods to eat. Processed foods, because they need to be preserved, end up having a lot of salt or a lot of sugar to preserve them. So in this case, with non-meat substitutes, they're usually preserved with, or rather, they usually contain a lot of sodium, which would be unhealthy for us. And then lastly, it is good to consult a doctor or a nutritionist if you want to switch to this lifestyle, or even if you generally want to switch to this lifestyle and perhaps you have a pre-existing condition, for example, kidney disease, you have other conditions like maybe you have cancer or any other condition. It's good to consult a doctor and nutritionist, because with this kind of consultation, you can be able to know, okay, this is the way to go. These are the foods I can eat. This is the way to basically have a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle, even within this kind of thing. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Just tell me what you think about this video and about the content, and also tell me or rather just suggest topics for me to talk about in future. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.